Hello and welcome to Moxie Journal. My name is Calix and I am so glad you're here with me today. I have a deck to share with you that I am so excited about. It is called the Spirit Carrier Oracle by Mia Illuzia, and it is a deck of 75 cards inspired by natural crystals and ancient runes. And what I've got here is the deck, the guidebook, and then this beautiful, and let's see if we can kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see how pretty this altar cloth is. This reading cloth I got as a set. So I'm going to show them all off today. So if you're interested in that, stick around. I will have timestamps because what I'm going to first start with you is I'm going to talk about how I got interested in runes, where I started, what's been challenging for me, and how this deck has really changed it. So I'll put timestamps in case you want to skip the backstory. After the backstory, I will probably gush about the guidebook because I absolutely love this guidebook. I love the way the deck is structured. I like the overall invitational feel of the deck. And then I will actually get into showing the cards. And so I will put a mark for when that timestamp happens. So again, I hope that you stick around, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to put these aside for just a second, and I'll kind of zoom in a little bit here, and I'll pull the runes back. So I've had two sets of runes in my life. The first one I got a really long time ago, like multiple decades ago. And I don't know if you can kind of hear them. They're these like faux little stone kind of runes. These were made by, I meant to look up his name. I think it's Ralph Blum. I still have the bag that they came in. Where is this? There were two sets. There was a set of healing runes, and there was a set of just runes. And I now know that Ralph Blum is not, that his take on the runes maybe doesn't follow the Futhark and sort of scholarly traditions based on, actual history. But at the time I didn't know that. It was sort of new agey stuff. And my mother and I went into a bookstore. My mother was studying Jungian psychology. She's a therapist and always approaches metaphysical things from a storytelling, self-development perspective, which is, I'm sure, where I get my bent towards that. So we went in, we found these runes at this sweet little bookstore, and it was really fun, and we were having a girls' weekend. I was living off on my own, and my mom had come out to see me. And so we got these, and we were on the West Coast, we were at the beach, and we had a nice dinner, and we decided to, play with runes. And my mom did this reading for me. Oh my goodness. It was, again, I can't find the book anywhere. It's lost to time, even though I kept these little stones. But it was something like the first rune was unexpected news or shocking discovery, something like that. The second rune for me was fertility, abundance, new life. And then the third rune was, I don't know, legacy or trajectory change or something. And I was shaking in my shoes because I was sure my mom could tell from that reading the news that I was waiting to tell her, that I was pregnant and hadn't figured out how to tell her yet. And it felt like the runes told her for me. So we ended up getting a little distracted from the runes, and they kind of surprised me. And so I ended up actually being a little scared of them and how accurate they were. And so while I kept them, I didn't really play or study them. Also, I didn't end up having a lot of free time after that. Then decades later, maybe 15 years, I was sort of adjacent to a pagan community of Norse pagan practitioners. And I am all for anybody practicing their religion, beliefs, as long as it is not impinging on anybody else's rights and beliefs. Anyway, these folks, they were not my cup of tea. They were very serious. Everything had to be a certain specific way. And they were also into what I have seen kind of, I kind of jokingly refer to as Happy Witch War crap. They were constantly hexing each other and gossipy, and there was a book that was going around about runes by a woman. I think her name is Freya Aswoon. Anyway, she kind of struck me as unhinged. That book really disturbed me, and I got a little scared of the whole thing again. So I didn't even, I had gotten these, oops, that's the blank one. I had gotten these out a little bit then, thinking I was meeting people who knew what they were doing, and then I didn't like those people. And so I put those up again. And then about, well, I don't know, last year, the year before, I thought, okay, I'm really drawn to these. I like stones, maybe. And of course, now I know about Etsy. So I went on, and I had seen a set of really beautiful wooden runes, but I wasn't going to invest in all that, since this is kind of my third brush pass with these guys. And so I bought myself these. I don't know if you can see how sweet they are, like little metal foil flakes. These are made out of resin, so they're plastic, which is probably not the best container for energy, but they were pretty and I liked them, and I thought maybe this would work. And I started studying books. I got a book by I got a whole set of books actually by Edward Thorson, who's a renowned scholar. I watched videos. Maybe I'll even link a video on the pronunciation of the runes, because spoiler alert, they do not sound the way they look to me. I found this book, this by Nordic Runes by Paul Rees Mountfort. I found this quite what's the word I'm looking for? Accessible. He gives you the name, the visual of it, different derivatives of the name, its correspondence even, the Old English rune poem it comes from, the Norwegian rune poem, the Icelandic rune poem. He gives you a visualization. He gives you some meanings. Like it's really in-depth myths and legends, right? So he talks about, all the different pieces. So that is a hefty write-up for a whole, for one rune, and then he goes to the next. So there's a lot of information here, and I made myself a little journal, and I even, I printed off some easier sort of cheat sheet stuff from the web, just to really try and study. So as is my bent. I don't know if you've been here before, you may have heard me talk about this. I tend to be very cerebral in my approach to things, because that's my, I don't know, safe spot or something, to kind of approach something from an intellectual place before I really commit to it in body and soul. But I was trying to get there with the runes, and so I was studying, but I was also drawing a rune every day, and I was journaling in my cute little tiny black paper journal, and I was carrying the rune around, and I made a solid effort. It wasn't quite a month. It was 3 weeks, and I carried the runes around. I just felt nothing. I didn't really see the message in the rune of the day appearing in my life, even though some of them were quite ferocious. The runes, some of the write-ups on the runes are, eternal frost and, I don't know, ice storms and blizzards and all kinds of, to me, very scary things. Again, I'm from the South in the United States, and I've never shoveled snow, and honestly, all of that is a little intense for me. I guess I'm a fair weather rune person. I probably would have not made it in ancient Iceland. But anyway, so and maybe it's because these are resin, even though they're pretty, maybe they just don't hold any energy for me, or perhaps it was just not the time. I don't know. I just kind of let it be. And maybe it's just because I got really interested in cards. And that was the other thing. Maybe it was just time for me to be really activated in my tarot journey. So however that came to be, I've just kind of been interested in runes, but have thought that maybe they just weren't going to be for me until I saw, I've been watching Shanna's channel, and I'm going to link her video in my description. Thank you, Shanna, for this deck. She's the reason I even know about this deck. And her altar, her space always has runes on it. It's lovely. She's worked with it. She's shown a couple of books that I've actually put on my list. She showed a deck, a runic card deck that I did put on my wish list. It hasn't made it to the top. And then she showed this one, the Spirit Carrier Oracle. And I was completely intrigued. Like, I didn't even finish watching her video. I mean, I watched her put, like, I don't know, 2 cards down and talk about them just like the tiniest bit. And then I was throwing my money at Mia Illuzia's site. I was like, I need these yesterday. And then I actually have gone back and watched the rest of Shanna's video. It's wonderful, as all of hers are. So here's what captivated me about this deck. First of all, they are beautiful. Let me show you a couple of them. So they come in this lovely 2-part box, which is my favorite presentation. I'm really learning that I like to have my cards out on my desk in my space, but I don't want them just to be knocked around, and I like to have them open so I can just pull them out without having to, take things apart. Anyway, so nice box, really pretty foiling with this sort of rune tree here. And then it's a deck. And the first card, I mean, just right from the beginning, this is so invitational and empowering. The sort of opening invocation, as it were, says, "You are the spirit carrier of this oracle deck. May the whispers of your past direct you towards wisdom and healing. May the awareness of your present bring you clarity and resolve. May the call of your future empower you to live with purpose and loving kindness." Oh, I just love it. But then these cards, they are, each card is sort of on a white antique sort of linen-y background. They're photographs, and they have different elements. Some have crystals, and they may have other elements. There is a phrase at the bottom, and it's not just the typical oracle words that we're used to seeing. And there's nothing wrong with those words. I love my oracle decks, and I actually like having some of the same words across different decks to kind of see different evocative images. But this is different. It's just its own thing. So we have a phrase down at the bottom. And honestly, you could totally just use this phrase and your intuition and your associations with what you see in the picture and get beautiful readings on these. But I'm going to tell you how much I like the guidebook in just a minute. And then each card also has this glyph, this little petroglyph or sigil down at the bottom. They have, for me, what I'm finding is really lovely in the last couple of decks I've been drawn to is this white space, which gives my eyes, my spirit, my heart some resting space. And so again, we have phrases like active imagination or out of otherness and a way through. And let me find some. This one is one of the guardians of the deck, the Nornir, and I'm going to say those wrong. Chain of events. Look at this. I like all those different chains. And then a lot of them have pictures of the runes. Some of them have triple runes. Some of them just have an individual rune. Anyway, I'll do a full individual deck flip through in just a minute. I wanted just to give you an idea of how beautiful these cards are and the way they're set up. So these cards are, again, 75 cards. Oh, these are the backs. So you can see that. I mean, that just in itself is beautiful for meditation. And they are distinct, right? So there's like a top and a bottom. So you would maybe have to be paying attention, but I guess what do they say? They're not reversible. The card stock is nice. They're thin but sturdy. They do shuffle nicely. They're a smooth finish. It feels to me, I don't know, like satin. I don't know the real words. I don't know anything about the core, but they are very nice. Now, I will say that I have maybe medium-sized hands. They're not particularly small. So these, oh, you know what? I could maybe find an actual, let me see if I can compare them to a standard tarot card. I should have gotten that out, you guys. I'm sorry. Oh, I've tidied up my desk and I don't have my measure card right next to it. Okay. All right, sorry about that. I I think they're probably a pretty regular size, maybe a tiny bit bigger. And for me, they do shuffle well. They're thick enough, there are enough of them that I have to be intentional in shuffling. I can't just, and they definitely overhand shuffle. Not that I'm good at that. And they fan really nicely. So I typically, because they're just a little bit too large, I typically divide the deck in half, and then I shuffle one half, and then I take half of the other side and half of the one I just shuffled. And then my last shuffle, I do the whole deck. I just do it very carefully. And because I'm kind of flipping them around, and not really paying attention to the upright or whatever, I do end up with upright and reversed cards, but I don't worry about that. I just sort of read them as a whole, but they could certainly lend themselves to that. So those are the cards, and we'll come back to them in just a minute. But what I want to do now is show you this guidebook. Now, I think I bought the guidebook. Oh, you all knocking cards all over the place. Of course, on camera, of course. I'm not the most graceful land creature. I think I was meant to be a mermaid, but there you go. So this guidebook is, it is bigger than the deck, so you can't be like just stuffed in the box, but I love it. It's got so much information, and I'm really glad she put it in this format. So you have a contents page, and this is her writing, not mine. You'll see, though, I've highlighted and started writing in mine. But she gives you, the first thing in here is, a little introduction, then a list of all the card titles. And then she has a whole pages of different ways to approach the cards, different ways to read them, because she's really about using your intuition. And then she has notes, the card notes. So she does give you information about each card, about what's on it, about the crystals, about the other elements, and then at the end, there are single rune cards, triple rune cards, non-rune cards, and then there are 4 cards, 2 significators and 2 guardians. And then she has information about the petroglyphs and the crystals and the metals and the wood. So so much information in this book. Now, I have not, this is a relatively new deck to me. I've only had it about maybe 2 weeks, maybe only a week and a half. I've been using it every day. I have, I always, when I get my cards, I go through them, I count them, I look at them, I just kind of say hello and nice to meet you. And I often, before bed, I'll just kind of go through and look at them and kind of get used to the images. And then I do a welcome in spread in my journal. I have a specific welcome aboard journal that I love, because I can always just kind of go to it and flip through and see my decks. But this is what I do. For Oracle decks, I often just do 4 cards. I do, hey, what is your personality? I do, what do you think of me, or what do you know of me so far? And then what will you say about us? Like, how are we going to get along? And then the 4th card is, where shall we start? So you, me, us, and then where should we begin? And, I put in little images of the card. I make notes about what I expect or how I think I'm going to use this in my practice. So do I have a date? Usually I write the date of when I do that. I got these, I said April, May. Yep, I'm gonna get better about when it actually did. Anyway, so what I'm doing in the guidebook is, as I come across a card, I am highlighting it and making notes, and I do pull them every day with my Wild Unknown Tarot by Kim Krantz. I pull the tarot card. The Wild Unknown is I call her my best friend, my BFF. She's the one who will tell it to me straight. It's like, okay, what are we going to talk about today, girlfriend? And she'll I mean, sometimes we laugh because, it's sometimes it's just that way, just exactly like you're at a sleepover with your friend. And then once I pull the tarot card for the day and kind of think about a topic, I write a little bit about that, and then I pull this spirit carrier oracle. That's hard for me to say sometimes. When I write it in my journal, I just write SCO. But it has been amazing to me how well these layer. So I'm interested. That's the only pairing I've done so far. I'm interested to see what others it would work with, but I think it would be great with a bunch. Anyway, back to the guide. So right here at the beginning, it's laid out. It's very easy to follow, to find the card you're looking for or to find more information about a piece of it. And so there's so much information in here, but one of the things I love, one of the things I think is just so wonderfully invitational about this deck is that right here on, page 3, which is really just the second page of information, center, she says, my intention with these cards is for you to create such a strong connection to your own inner knowing and your own sense of agency that you can confidently create meaning from these cards in whatever context they appear in, so that you dare to look at a card or a combination of cards and say, for me, what I see in this card or what I take away from it is, and to hold that knowing as equally valid alongside whatever you might read in this guidebook. And I just love that. As I said, one of the things that was really difficult for me was how precious the rune people were. Now, I get it. I do like when there are teachers of a tradition and a system and passing that knowledge down accurately. I think there is a really important place there because it does matter, that transmission through history. And also, I need the leaven in the lump, and this deck was created with that leaven in mind, with a strong basis, but also room to go. It doesn't claim to be the one and only source of the most traditional way of rune casting ever. She uses the runes in a specific way and then opens it up for you. And that's what I was looking for in my practice, was a way to have runes be a part of it and then to deepen it. And they're so pretty. I'm sorry, but the pretty factor is just high for me. All right. So, she says things all the way through this write-up. I encourage you to choose your own way, your reading, your perspective. And she also, I think this would be a great deck for building that intuition. I've been practicing magic for 40 years, and so I feel really comfortable with my intuition, which is one of the reasons why I need to have practices that allow for that. But even so, there's always room to learn, right? There's always ways to practice and to build and increase that connection. But I think for someone who is new, who maybe didn't trust their intuition that much, she has some really great exercises and ways of looking at the cards that she tells you about in a really practical way, then to open up and maybe journal or just to look at the questions and think about your associations and your, what do you make this mean? Which is just, I'm a life coach. I was trained with Martha back 16 years ago. And so that's my favorite coaching question. What do you make that mean? And another thing that I loved about this is she tells you to shuffle the deck and select one single card at random, or you can select one that you really particularly like. I actually kind of did a combination of these. I went through, and the first card I pulled out was just gorgeous. I was like, oh, this is the card. And what we're doing here is we're assigning this one card as a secret signal card to signify a special prompt to pay extra attention to whenever this card appears in your future readings. And so I saw that one card. I'm like, oh, this is it. And I hadn't even looked at the other cards. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I should look at the other cards. And then I was like, well, here's what I'll do. I'll go through the deck. I'll pick out like 6 or 7 of my favorite cards, and then I'll randomly draw from those. And I did that. And then I actually didn't have any cards I didn't like in the whole deck. So I picked my 7 favorite, and then I shuffled those 7, and I pulled one card from those to be my my secret signal card, the one that I'm going to pay special attention to when it comes up for readings. Oh, and I can see May 14th. That's when I did that, the secret signal card. And my card is Allow Ease. Now I've been playing with the deck for a week or so before that, but that's when I did that reading. So I'm sure that's when I did the welcome in, or maybe I did the welcome in the day before. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Y'all don't care. I've never seen the secret signal card idea before. Maybe a significator. Maybe that's part of it. Although she has separate significators and guardians in this deck. Anyway, the card, when I picked the beautiful 7 and I picked one from it, it turned out to be the one card I'd seen first. So I thought that was kind of funny. But like, not that surprising, right? I mean, there you go. So in terms of how this guidebook is structured and how easy it is to find a card, she has it set up so that you look for the name of the phrase, and this is set up. This first list is set up, I think this must be in the order of the Elder Futhark. So if you know your runes, then this organization will make sense. I don't think it's that hard to scan through and just find the one I'm looking for. And this is the page number. And so these are the single rune cards. So the one that just has the Elder Futhark and just the one rune, you can find those. And see, I made a little mark for my Allow Ease. And then after that, she has the triple rune cards, and then these are alphabetical by phrase, so they're easy to find. And then there are non-rune cards, which we saw, right, that just have the phrase and some crystals or other objects or, natural elements on them. And those are, again, in alphabetical order to find, and then you can go to the page number. And then she has the significator cards and the guardian cards at the end. So she describes those, how to use those. You can keep them in. And then this section on observing the cards, and then how the triple rune cards work as a whole. And then she talks about the significators and the guardians. And then she talks about connecting the cards and noticing how the patterns fall, and she teaches you how to ask some questions. She talks about playing with language, how some of the titles may have a word that could be read as a verb or could be read as a noun. So depending on how you read it, it may have a totally different meaning. And she encourages that. She asks you to notice how things are striking you, what meaning is coming to you in the deck. And she gives you a great example here of her favorite 2-card reading, which is the first card you would ask the question, what is my current challenge? And then the second card would answer that question, answer with what is the strength I have that I can use to conquer that challenge. So you've got a challenge and a strength, and she encourages you to go through the deck and analyze it. And you may do this already with your cards, where you divide them on first impression about, oh, these I really like, these I don't like as much, or I'm even averse to, or I'm neutral about these. And sometimes what you have a strong reaction to, either positive or negative, can give you some really good information. Just because you might have an averse or an avoidance reaction from a card doesn't mean it's a bad card, right? It just often, again, here's my coach in me, that for me means, hey, dig here, journal. All right, so, and then she begins on the meanings, and the meanings are, I will go through so you can kind of see how these layered. The other day I pulled the 7 of Wands, and then I also pulled a card called Own It, which is a triple rune. So that's on page 76. And we'll just go through this one card so you can see. And I meant to pull it out in the deck. And let's see if I can find it really. No, that's most important. Sorry, I meant to have it right here on the top. And then I shuffled um, to show you how great the cards shuffled, and I didn't pull it out. But I was just really struck by this particular layering because the Seven of Wands, it's fire, and then the triple rune card that I picked, Own It, from this deck is all three of the runes are fire. There we go. Here it is right here. So these were my cards for the day, and then we can look at how this is structured. So there's the beautiful card, and here's the write-up, and so she's got the sigil, the petroglyph on the page as well, so you can kind of start making that association, and then the three runes, and it says, this card summons you to your own magnificence, to truly acknowledge what you are capable of, including success being available to you in personally fulfilling ways. The three runes on this card all relate to fire in one way or another, which I thought was fascinating to layer with the Seven of Wands, right? So, and it goes through, I won't read the whole thing, but there's a sort of quote unquote positive part. And then on the other side, it's like if you're blocked or if you're having trouble or, another aspect of it. So she doesn't really list it as positive and negative, but she does kind of include the whole spectrum in the write-up. And then at the end, she has the crystals that are on here, and then the metals and the wood that could go with this. And if you know a lot about crystals, which I do not, but if you do, then I'm sure you can get even more layers and meanings out of this. So, but this card encourages you to persist with determination and trust in your ability to create success. And here I have this Seven of Wands. I'm the flame here in the center, maybe not really getting support elsewhere and kind of doing my own thing. So I thought that was a really perfect example of how these cards have been working together for me. And it's happened like 3 or 4 times where the cards together were just spot on with each other and for me for that day, for what I was dealing with, which again is not what I experienced with the runes just on their own. Well, I mean, that first time, but that was maybe a little too on point. Okay, so that's enough gushing about this guidebook. Maybe, I don't know. I'll probably gush a little bit more. You all, I love this deck. It is just wonderful. But okay, here we go. So let me remember the timestamp for when I'm going to go through the cards. So here's the Own It. And this is one of the significator cards, this Explorer, Full Circle, Dive Deeper, Out of Otherness, Secret Shield. I think that one's so pretty. One More Spoon. Oh, I got this One More Spoon card the other day, and I really needed it that day. Mind Made Fears. And you can see that each card is rich on its own, but if you have a whole spread, and obviously you could do them in any spread formation that you're used to working with. So many options. And again, with the positive and negative, right? There's so many options. Like, first of all, what a beautiful card. I'm going to say that for pretty much all of them, but many options. Is that a positive or a negative to you? Is many options overwhelming? Is this too many? Is this just like, oh, I can't even? Or is it, oh, abundance? I'm so glad to have so many options available to me. I can go whichever direction I need, right? So there's plenty of room for you and me and our best friend in this deck. Right, so here's Nor Near. That's another, those are the guardians. There are 2 of these key moments. I love this sort of antique elements in here as well. Under the Moon, look at this, look at that orb. And I don't know if the detail on the photograph comes out, but they are so rich in detail, these photographs. They are great cards to meditate with. Witness this, layers of healing, know to grow, end to begin, all in good time, heart ties, Again, ties could be a noun or a verb. The tie could be the thing itself, or it could be the act of my heart, ties to someone else, to everybody else. Accepting comfort, price of wisdom, vital flow, unravel or not. I do love her wordplay. And look at when you get cards that balance and mirror and echo. There's so much room. Safe haven, allow ease. This is my secret signal. Not so secret. You all are in on the secret, but look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I love that, and I love the little petroglyph at the bottom. So, common ground, turn the corner, spiraling thoughts, destiny reshuffled. I'd love to know as we're walking through if you were going to pick one of these cards for your secret signal, which one would you like? Which ones of these cards are speaking to you? Old key, new door, practical optimism, where you belong, most important. And I do want to say that I'm sharing these cards because I think they're beautiful, and I was so excited and grateful for Shanna sharing them for me, because I knew this was something that I wanted to work with, but I don't want to feed into FOMO. So if this deck is beyond your reach for any reason, best outcome, face it, power of calm, inhale, exhale. If then just enjoy this. Looking at these cards, just think about maybe how you already use your runes, or maybe get inspired by ways of laying out found items that you already have in these beautiful magical ways. Or if you want, I will link the deck, so if you want it, you can order it. But again, I think it's one of those things about showing off decks, because I want to empower and encourage without ever feeding into that consumerism place. So there you go. Meeting expectations, roll of luck. I like this one with this sort of wooden carved hand rolling the ancient looking dice there. A way through. I think that's interesting. Look beyond. Reflecting back. Look at this antique mirror. This is one, it doesn't have a rune in it, but per se, but look at those quartz for amplification. Look at, they are laid out in a rune shape on that ancient mirror, reflecting back. It's just the layers of her thought and intentionality in the setups on these, I just think is beautiful. Okay. Hush, Calyx, just keep showing the cards, lady. Freedom to create, soul landscape, comfortable lie, infinite now, always there, truthful journey, greenery there, the wanderer. And again, we see some of these symbols in multiple cards. So how does that resonate? You already know. Steps to mastery, on solid footing, discern reality, threads of fate, take heart, worth learning, well of memory, observe the hidden, missing link. This is that's the other of the guardian cards, chain of events, finders keepers, share of gifts, truth of you. Oh, this is another one that I want you to see this detail so close up. Look at that. Isn't that just inner radar? Awaken to clarity, chaos and order. Prepare to adapt. This rune sort of mirroring that shape there. Needs must. Nevertheless. Cottywomple and lit from within. Now, the Cottywomple card is one of my favorites. Maybe you already know the meaning of this card. This is a wonderful write-up. I'm not going to spoil everything, so if you're interested in this deck, you can find out more about this card on your own. Or if you can't get this deck and you really want to, I'll send you some information on it, because I think the Cottywomple card is really great. So there you have it. This is the Spirit Carrier Oracle, my new favorite deck, which is saying something because I love my decks and I have lots of favorites, but this one is in daily use right now, and it's working really well with my best friend card. Oh, look, Cosmic Alignment, kind of gotten off to the side. Thank you for being here for this very chatty deck walkthrough with me. I'd love to know if you have this deck, if you're thinking about this deck, if you already work with runes and you don't need anything like this, or if you can think of other decks that this might go with. I would just love to have you talk to me in the comments. I love to make friends, so please do join me. And if you like this video, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That would be fantastic, then I'll know. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Let's be friends. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.